Hi guys, Catmaster here today with another video. I want to talk a little bit about the character that I've been playing for the Heist Leaguestart. I've been able to, despite some initial difficulties and extreme competition, hold myself in the top 10 of the Occultist class and then the top 200 overall for the first 2 days. And yeah, in this video I want to quickly talk about the decisions I made and the character that I put together with the gear that I found here in Hardcore Solo Self-Found Heist. So, welcome everyone to another video. I hope your Leaguestart went as well as mine or better, and I hope you're hyped to hear about what I put together today. But before we go into this video, I want to quickly thank all of you guys who came and checked out the stream at twitch.tv/CatmasterOP, where normally I stream every Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday at 4:20 in the afternoon. But of course, during the first weekend, the first week, the first 2 weeks of League, I'll be there almost every day covering the latest League content and, pushing this character as far as I can. We've had a lot of people, and League starts are usually for smaller Twitch streamers like myself pretty harsh because a lot of big streamers are there and you get pushed all the way down to the bottom of the directory, so you don't get a lot of new viewers coming in. But despite that, the numbers have been pretty good this League in comparison to other League starts. So again, thank you guys all for your support, and I hope that more of you come and check out the stream and learn to love to watch me suffer in hardcore SSF. So I decided to play a Vortex Occultist, or basically a cold damage over time Occultist. Now, damage over time in general in Path of Exile is really cool. Usually the DPS values are not very high for damage over time. A lot of people are playing Chaos damage over time, and it's one of the best boss killers that you can play at the moment because it's so well rounded, but the damage numbers themselves on the skills are rather underwhelming. But that's a thing with damage over time, because you only apply the damage over time once and you don't have to stand still to deal your DPS like you would with an attacking build or with a spellcasting, channeling, whatever build. You basically have full uptime on your maximum DPS all the time, even if you choose to reposition in a fight or, use a guard skill, use something else. Most of the time your damage will be up if you just reapply it every couple of seconds rather than having to stand still and apply it all the time. So damage over time is really strong for that reason, early League, because your defenses can be a little bit more neglected than usual, as you don't need to face tank things. You can just always keep moving and dodge abilities. But obviously I didn't want to go with the flavor of the month or flavor of the last couple leagues with the sure pick ED Contagion. But if you're looking for a safe, great League starter, definitely play Essence Drain Contagion as a combo skill on either Trickster or Occultist. Definitely recommend it, and it has no problems with Reflect whatsoever because Chaos damage cannot be reflected. But cold damage over time has its perks as well. In general, I would say that the cold damage over time is even a little bit less damage than the chaos damage over time because of the tools available to the build, but the cold damage over time comes with the property of chill. Now, chill reduces enemy action speed by 10% and can be scaled up to 30% action speed reduction at 200% increased chill effect, which is something we'll get to later. There is 4 different cold damage over time skills in the game called Vortex, Creeping Frost, Cold Snap, and Wintertide Brand, and each of them have their own little unique perks, and we'll go over those skills in a second as well. Spellcasters in general are really great for League starters because they allow scaling via gem level, where most of your base damage, unlike with attackers where it comes from the weapon usually, comes from the base level of the gem. So getting experience, getting levels on the gem will always raise your damage dramatically, which is really cool. On top of that, the Occultist Ascendancy is a great choice because the Occultist allows you to get freeze and chill immunity relatively early, meaning you can drop it from your flask setup, and it comes with a large bonus to your cold damage over time in form of resist reduction and cold damage multiplier, and a big bonus to Chaos Resist, which is, as long as you're life-based, really important in a new league. It's getting more important every league. And it allows you to get stun immunity while you have energy shield, which is basically up all the time because it also grants you regeneration to your energy shield. So all in all, really good value starter class, but we'll go over all of these details after I explain the skills. So Vortex leaves a vortex that deals cold damage over time in an area. It is an instant cast, which is the reason why I put it on the left mouse button, and I basically cast it all the time while walking around without any cast time or interruption. It's just always there. I just always drop casually a damage over time area that sits around and kills enemies quite efficiently on its own already. But then we're using Cold Snap on top. Cold Snap is a cold damage over time skill that damages things in an area. This area spreads over the duration of the cold snap, and if it kills things, it has a chance to grant a frenzy charge. But not only if it directly kills with the hit or with the dot, it's enough for the enemies to be in the chilling area to have a chance to grant a frenzy charge when slain. Cold Snap does have a cooldown, just like Vortex, but Cold Snap has a little bit of a longer cooldown. On the other hand, though, you can bypass that cooldown by expending a frenzy charge, meaning while you run around and clear, and you're generating frenzy charges with a 25% chance on kill, you pretty much always have that frenzy charge up that you need to bypass the cooldown, which means I can use Cold Snap as my main skill. Now, Creeping Frost is a spell projectile that also applies a chilling area after a cold damage hit, but this chilling area will move around and chase enemies with a very, very small base speed that can be increased. So Creeping Frost is also very much worth it. I chose to not use Creeping Frost after the leveling process where I use 3 damage over time skills, and I'm currently leveling Wintertide brands. Wintertide brand is a brand skill that works a little bit like Blight for chaos damage skills, as in it can apply up to 20 layers of cold damage over time debuff. And each of those layers has a relatively short duration, so scaling duration and cast speed applies, raises the amount of layers you can have on the enemy because it hires the activation speed with which the brand puts on the layers onto the enemy. And it also the duration makes it last longer so that there's more overlaps and you get to maximum stages faster. Also, unlike with other brands, you can have 2 brands attached to an enemy, not just 1. So getting the additional brand attached to an enemy from the tree is not worth as much on Wintertide brand as it is on any other brand. So I'm planning to use Wintertide brand later. What's important to note, between Wintertide brand, Cold Snap, and Vortex, Wintertide brand, and Creeping Frost all have a hit portion. They hit with cold damage in the beginning, like they have an initial hit, and then they have a duration during which they apply cold damage over time, which means you can technically also play them hit-based, although I don't know how good that is outside of some janky stuff that worked around the Spellslinger cooldown interaction with Cold Snap early league in Delirium. But that's besides the point. What I'm trying to say is, with these 4 cold damage over time skills, you can basically pick your own set of cold damage over time and just combine it however you want. Any combination of 2 or more of these skills, I think, would be viable in endgame and can be made work. So just throwing that out there, I'm gonna put the skills back in. So again, as I said, my main way of dealing damage is just dropping the vortices everywhere I go, and then when I want to kill a pack, I'll just cold snap them left and right. We're using Frost Bomb in order to reduce enemies' cold resistance via applying cold exposure. That's really, really good. And we're using Orb of Storms to apply Elemental Equilibrium, which debuffs the enemy cold resistance. Now, Elemental Equilibrium is a little bit tricky because enemies you hit with elemental damage temporarily get +5 resistance to those elements you hit with and -50 resistance to other elements. That means, like I just said, Vortex, Cold Snap, and Creeping Frost will at first hurt your damage with their initial hit because they apply cold damage in a hit, which then raises the resistance of the enemies by 25%. But Orb of Storms is a rapidly hitting skill that I can put down that will hit enemies with fire and a little bit of lightning and a little bit of fire damage, because for some reason I have flat fire on my wand. But that's not necessary. It just raises fire and lightning resist in that case and reduces enemy cold resist by 50%. While clearing, it's kind of counterproductive for me because of set initial hit to have elemental equilibrium. And I think my clear could be better if I didn't have that. But for anything that lives longer than 2 seconds, it's a massive improvement, because obviously minus 50% resistance is quite huge. Also on top of that, I'm using the Hex Touch support, which is the reworked Curse on Hit that now applies hexes. And I'm using Frostbite, which is the hex that reduces enemy cold resist. Now, of course, this doesn't gain Doom via the new Doom mechanic, because you didn't cast the spell yourself, but it's still good enough, and it is impactful. It helps quite a bit, especially on those tankier enemies, in conjunction with the LE Equilibrium, reducing their resists even further. Cold Snap on the gem has 90% increased effect of chill at level 20. This goes up from 0 at level 1 to 19 at level 20, which means that it on the gem already has increased effect of chill and helps you scaling towards that 200% increased effect of chill, at which you reduce enemy action speed by 30%. Now I link this with Hypothermia, which gives increased effect of chill, and Bone Chill, which gives increased effect of chill. And Bone Chill is kind of a debuff for all cold damage over time that I have, because enemies in chilling areas from supported skills, which Cold Snap leaves on the ground, right, chilling area, enemies in that area take increased cold damage over time, so that's an increased damage taken multiplier, but not only at a fixed value of, I think, up to 29% at level 20, but also at your chill effect, right? So enemies in chilling areas from supported skills have cold damage taken increased by chill effect, which means that you can get up to 30% increased cold damage taken as long as you scale your chill effect on that skill as high as possible. Now, I don't know where I am exactly. I think I should be around like 100% increased chill effect, plus minus, give or take. We can go up to 200, like I said, but it's really good because it increases not only the damage from the Cold Snap, but from all other damage over time, cold damage over time that my build has. I'm using somewhat scuffed gems here because I have a 6-link that I dropped from a Val side area really early on in mapping. I think the first good drop for the build. The original plan was to use both Malevolence and Hatred, which are two 50% reservation auras, which would make you deal more damage over time, give you skill effect duration from Malevolence, and Hatred provides more cold damage, which obviously is also really good for the build. And the plan was to get a little bit of reduced mana reserved so that the 100% reservation would go down to like an 85% reservation for 14. So 86% reservation it would have been. But in Quarry, once I arrived, I think in the very first zone, I found an Essence Worm, which I don't usually expect to find an Essence Worm early League. It can take really long. Sometimes I go an entire League without finding an Essence Worm, but I did. Essence Worm gives +2 of level of socketed aura gems. It's an unset ring, so you can socket an aura gem, and it makes socketed gems reserve no mana whatsoever. The downside is you have 40% increased mana reserved for anything else that reserves mana. So if you were to use another mana reservation on top, that one would be more expensive, which is why we're not doing it. We're just leaving all the mana unreserved so we can count that mana towards our efficient HP pool, because we got Mind Over Matter, which makes me take 30% of damage from mana before life. That means that if I take 5,000 damage, then 30% of that, which is 1,500, will be first taken from my mana, and I only take 3,500 damage to my life, which is pretty good, I would say. So my overall health pool is around 7k without energy shield, but I also got another 1.4k energy shield on top. Again, I found this 6-link in a Val side zone early in the maps, and it dropped with 3 blue sockets and 3 red sockets. So I had to recolor it in order to make it work, because I need green sockets and I don't have use for more than 1 red socket. Even this red socket is kind of not perfect, but inspiration works. As long as it's high level, it's up most of the time, it generates charges, and you only lose them after you spend a total of 730, so every 15 to 20 casts. So like after 5 casts you get like 10, 12 casts where it's up all the time. So most of the time it's up. We're using Swift Deflection, which reduces the duration and gives more damage over time. Just because I needed a green socket, it's probably better to use Elemental Focus, but I haven't done the math. But I think Elemental Focus is a better more multiplier and doesn't have the reduced duration, but that's just what we have to do, right? Efficacy does counteract the skill effect duration because it has 15% increase, and efficacy is the best damage over time spell support there is, because it not only grants more spell damage but also more damage over time, and these are 2 separate more multipliers, meaning they multiply with each other and result in a much higher more multiplier. So definitely always efficacy, always efficacy. For Vortex, we're using Arcane Surge, Hypothermia, and Swift Deflection. The nature of Vortex being on my left mouse button makes it so that it's always cast. Arcane Surge buff gives you a global, I think, a global 10% more spell damage, 13% more spell damage and 12% cast speed, and mana regen, which again is really, really nice. Probably would be better to use efficacy here, and I have no idea why I'm using Swift Deflection over efficacy. I have to say that I didn't have a lot of chromatics while I was leveling, and then later on I never questioned it again. But probably Swift Deflection not the best support here. Don't copy that, right? We're using Orb of Storms and Tempest Shield with Curse on Hit or Hex Touch Frostbite to apply the curse as discussed, both with Tempest Shield and Orb of Storms. Tempest Shield lasts a while, and whenever I block, arcs out with lightning and hits enemies, so it also applies the curse. It also applies Elemental Equilibrium because it only deals fire and lightning damage, and it's just really nice to have on top of Orb of Storms, so you don't have to cast it on every pack, and it's generally always helping your Elemental Equilibrium uptime. In the shield, we're using Enduring Cry together with Second Wind to give it a second use and to lower its cooldown slightly, and we're also using Flame Dash to efficiently benefit on both of these skills from the support gem. So Second Wind gives Flame Dash also another use and lowers the cooldown, which is really helpful if you want to dash around a lot. In these 2 sockets, I'm leveling Bone Chill and Wintertide Brand. This one actually needs to be flipped, so I didn't need anything here. I probably will put something there eventually once we get a trigger wand, but I haven't unlocked the trigger craft. I use Frostbomb, like I said, to reduce enemy resistances, and this is a 4-link Steel Skin cast when damage taken setup with increased duration and also Second Wind. Now, Steel Skin doesn't get a second use because it's triggered, but it lasts 2.57 seconds, and it grants a buff that can take up to 2,209 damage for me, which is really nice. It has only a 3-second cooldown time, so it's up a lot. Actually, Second Wind doesn't affect it. Great. I'm an idiot. So, don't use Second Wind on your guard skill setup because it won't work. I was unaware that it doesn't. I thought it would at least reduce the cooldown. I was sure it wouldn't give an additional use, but apparently it doesn't even affect the cooldown as long as it's triggered. Cannot support triggered skills. It even says it there, guys. Read your gems. That's my advice for you. Anyway, this helmet I've been using for a long time. As you can see, item level 63. That's a find around Act 9, I think, is that. And we crafted the +1 AoE gems, which gives +1 level to Vortex, which pumps it up to 21, giving it a little bit more base damage. Using this wand that I recently found, I was using a wand with a high mana roll because I was lacking mana for a long time. I found this with cold damage over time multiplier. It increased the damage, it had the cast speed, it had a free craft for mana, so I just crafted 69 mana. Really, really okay wand, but we're looking for a wand ideally with +1 socketed cold gems, or +1 all cold gems, global actually, and cold damage over time multi, a high spell damage roll, or mana, or a hybrid, or something like that, and a free suffix so we can craft trigger socketed skills when trigger socketed spells when you use a skill. But for that, we need to unlock it first. Using gloves with a nice 107 life. Nice little extra is we had a suffix that we didn't need, so we could craft reduced effect of non-damaging ailments on you. Now, in my previous builds, I usually try to stack avoidance for ailments to 100%, but here I decided I'd pick Anointed Flesh, which gives me, on this route, 5% reduced effect, 30% reduced effect, 15, so 50% reduced effect of shock already. And on top of that, we for a while had Ash, Frost and Storm for 20%, but now I have the 24, so that's a 74% reduced effect of shock. And I thought I had some other reduced effect somewhere else. Yeah, here, 25% reduced effect of non-damaging ailments. So I already got 99% reduced effect, which means shock has a 1% effect on me. I don't think I need a shock remove flask at all, but yeah, we still have shock remove here. Probably gonna change that soon. It's been a rough couple days. We've been streaming 24 hours and 20 hours back to back. So excuse me for these little mess ups. I'm winging it as I go. And I'm focusing obviously on pushing ahead. We're gonna reach level 92 today. It's gonna be really great. But before I leave you off and wish you a great day, I quickly want to go over the Ascendancy and the cluster jewel section that I worked into the tree. So when I started leveling, I just went out here and rushed Ellie Overload, picked up Frostwalker, Lightning Walker, Firewalker just for the resists to make it really easy to gear, because you don't want to spend a lot of money crafting your gear or like switching gear around. I just want to equip gear and be resist capped relatively easily without spending my transmutes on crafts, and then later on I just refund that for refund points that you get from quest rewards. It's not very expensive, it's definitely worth it. We get the dual wield, which later on we refund as we use a shield, and we get some chaos resist life, get the elemental resist here. We go down here, we don't pick up glancing blows because after the nerf, glancing blows is a net damage increase because it does double your block chance, but it makes you still take 65% of damage from blocked hits. So when you pick that, you actually are worse on average, but you have a higher consistency of blocking. You can reach block cap, which is really good for mods like gain life or gain energy shield on block, but I don't have that yet, so we're not picking glancing blows. But we're going down here to get the elemental resists and the block from Sanctuary. We're picking up block here. We picked up a little bit of spell block here, and we picked up Arcane Swiftness most recently, but only after we hit level 90 plus. Before that, we pathed out here and we got Breath of Rhyme for some nice cold damage. And only yesterday, after I hit 91, or I think when I was still 90, I decided I'll try the refund because I had some cluster jewels rolled that I wanted to put into the build. As we were leveling, we picked up Void Beacon first for 20% resist reduction and reduced life regeneration rate on enemies, and then went for Frigid Wake for a nice cold damage over time multiplier and the guaranteed cannot be chilled, cannot be frozen, which is why the shock remove is enough for me. I don't need reduced effect of chill, reduced effect of freeze, because I don't get chilled, I don't get frozen, never ever, which is really nice by the way, especially while leveling. If you've ever worn like Wanderlust boots, which still allow you to be chilled, but you can just open boxes and anything without ever being frozen. Really great. And then we went for the stun immunity because I don't want to be, stunned while I'm trying to reposition and then get slammed to death in a boss fight or something like that. I just always want to avoid stuns. But with Wild Bastion, you almost always have energy shield up. It has a nice layer of defense because you get up to 10% energy shield regen while mapping, while you kill recently. And you get a baseline 40 regen, which just always helps you to have energy shield up, therefore you're stun resistant. And when we got Uberlap, which took a while to get the last trial this time, we decided we'd get Withering Presence for the chaos resistance alone. I don't benefit from any of the other lines, just the 60% chaos resist is what I picked this for, which ends up bringing me to 47 positive chaos res, and soon TM we're going to be capped on chaos res as well. Now another option is if you have enough chaos resist on gear or tree otherwise, you can pick Profane Bloom, which allows you to hexproof enemies, which is really nice for that resist reduction, for running hexproof maps, for killing hexproof rares. And it also gives you the 25% chance to explode enemies, dealing a quarter of their max life as chaos damage, which, despite not having any chaos damage scaling, will still help the clear massively and also allow you to remove corpses partially. So it's very nice. For the cluster jewel region, I found a medium level cold damage jewel. Sadly, 12 passive skills, but we rolled Deep Chill and Widespread Destruction, which is cold damage over time, and area of effect and elemental damage. And on the small passive skills, I actually got another 3% increased damage. So every one of those small passive skills give me 15% increased damage and 4% mana regeneration. Really nice. We're using Flexible Sentry for additional spell block and the reduced effect of non-damaging ailments on you. That's how I get really big reduced effect of ailments, especially shock. Like I said, I'm at 99% shock effect reduction, but also at 74% shock effect, brittle and sap and scorch effect reduction. Because, you know, those are also elemental ailments that usually you don't encounter, but sometimes are problematic. Like in the Simulacrum, or in, I think in Deliriums as well, but definitely in Simulacrum monsters can brittle, sap, and scorch you. Now, this is not perfect. I got a medium area of effect with area damage. I don't need the crit multi, but area of effect and area damage is okay. And we rolled a Fetal Jewel with nice life, which this is the only reason I was even able to refund this without giving up too much life in the process and without compromising my survivability too much. I would like to get another cold damage over time multiplier medium that I could put in between this small and the large here, but so far I'm happy. I also have, if I'm able to give up one of the smalls, which I don't think I am, but I got a small cluster jewel with anti-venom. This in total would grant me 53% chaos resist and +1 maximum chaos resist on top of 30% chance to avoid being poisoned. Really nice jewel. But so far, haven't really found a way. Maybe I'll just pick the small one here and put it in there for like 1, 2, 3, 4, 7 points. But probably not. Anyway, if you're still here after I talked about all this, make sure to let me know in the comments down below what you want to know about the build. This shield I found, I thought it was really nice. 1000 evasion, 234 energy shield. Sadly, no spell damage, but very happy. I anointed Deflection on my amulet, which is this. It cost me 1 opalescent, 1 teal, and 1 sepia, which took me quite some time to farm, but I managed to get 3 black oils. Actually, I had 2 black oils and 3 crimson, so I traded 3 crimson into 1 black, and then traded the 3 black into 1 opalescent, and then anointed Deflection, because this is really good for complementing my block. Together with Tempest Shield, I'm actually sitting at 47 chance to block attack damage, 55 to block projectile attack damage, and 40 block spell damage, which is respectable without glancing blows, and I'm still hoping to sooner or later get a little bit of more of that going, but it already helps massively. Anyway, like I said, if there's anything you want to know about the build at all, make sure to visit the stream at twitch.tv/CatmasterOP. There will be a new video explaining all about the heists and grand heist mechanic and how you min-max your approach to them and how you get the maximum loot with the minimum effort. If there's anything in particular you want to know about heist or that you want me to mention in the video, make sure to mention it in the comments below. Thank you for watching. I hope to see you on the stream and I wish you a wonderful day. I hope you get tons of loot in heist. See you later. Does that mean we can open this and this?
We gotta keep it down.
Might not have enough time for both.
Right, we gotta make traction.
Ooh, is that a 6 link? No.